ladies and gentlemen. Episode number 5. Was having a little bit of technical difficulties. My webcam decided it didn't want to work, but we don't let that shit hold us down. Back in the closet, lit up, got my beer if y'all want to drink with me. Today we're going with St. Archer Gold. I haven't seen this one before. It's the self-proclaimed ultimate light beer. And it's not bad. I don't know how much more ultimate it is than other ultimate light beers apparently, but you know, whatever. It's not the point. Not to fear, I have more. So now, I do say it a little bit later on in this podcast, but well, the more I do these, the easier I get. And goddamn, it seems like I just released the last episode not even a couple days ago. But you know, it's just the way things go. And I'm sure part of it has to do with me getting older. You know, time just flies. I'm sure. You know, I still remember being in grade school when it felt like the school year was just forever. That was back when I had a lot more energy too. But I never really used that energy that much. I was a pretty sedentary kid. And, well, I was never really in shape. And even now I'm still struggling, as I'm sure most people are. And, you know, also in no small part due to the lockdown, but you know, I got some more home exercise equipment coming in. I bought that thing that's like a band system with a floor panel and also a door hook and a bar, so I can exercise that way. And then I also got some good beer. But, you know, that's coming in through Amazon, which, unfortunately, at this time, anything that's not like an essential product or whatever is coming in. Well, it's delayed, so it's still going to be a couple weeks, even though I ordered this thing like a fucking month ago. Oh, shit. That reminds me, I had something else that was supposed to come in. I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyways, I also ordered from a good company called Meister Fight Gear. They have, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like those weighted duffel bag things. They have a weighted duffel bag that well, the thing weighs 5 pounds, right? And then they also have, and the way it works is they have like Kevlar kettlebells, so they're not like the hard steel, which I don't know if you guys have ever done any kettlebell exercises, but you know, whenever you fling those things up, they smack your forearms. But these don't do that because they're, you know, like a fabric material instead of just a hard metal. And it comes with a 20, a 10, and a 5. So, no. Yes? I don't know, but whatever it comes with, it's going to... The idea is that it weighs 50 pounds altogether. Alright, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I had a bidet on the way that was supposed to be here on the 17th, but that just got pushed back. Which means that it'll be over a month since I ordered, but, you know, whatever. What do you do? Also, this little studio of mine's coming along. I finally got myself a little computer fan, which, as I mentioned later, it's already starting to heat up here in California. It's fucking hot indoors. I'm already using my AC. Not right now, but I probably will be, especially as the months go on. which is, as you can imagine, hell on the electrical bill. But I don't know. And hopefully one of these days get some more subscribers and maybe some sponsors once the thing comes down. And hopefully I'll make some real money and have my own place and my own space. And, well, I mean, it won't be a closet anymore, but I don't know. It'll be nice. But also, more importantly, I'm not, I'm just I'm doing this to do this. It's for me. And for people to watch me drink and eventually smoke. We'll see how that comes along. But anyways, whatever. Later. So, what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, also something I've been forgetting to do. I know if any of you saw my my first and second episodes on YouTube, I had a problem with the camera being a little bit blurry, which, as you also have noticed, if you've been following along, I managed to figure that out. Unfortunately, that it was a lighting thing, which means that I wanted this podcast to be like a little darker, a little more intimate, but I mean, I guess I can't do that, so I have to have more lights in here, but, whatever. Sacrifices. No pain, no gain, I guess. So, as you're about to hear in this podcast, I bring back some more Facebook articles for y'all. And I'll put the links up in the description if you're listening on YouTube or in iTunes or in one of the other companies or one of the other podcast services, which once again, me, I'm on iHeartRadio and Stitcher and something else. I don't know, it's in the description as well. Just look it up for yourself. Do your own work. I'm already doing work. Oh man, alright, cool. Hello again. Welcome back to the closet for another one of these episodes. Man, you can tell that's what my body type's like. Just twisting around, I had to stretch or whatever. Or if you're just listening, you have no idea what I'm talking about. What's up again, guys? I'm back with my closet, my candle, and mug the sweater. Fucking ugly Christmas sweaters. It's one of those things that I normally would not ever do. Also, luckily for me, it's something that none of my friends would ever really do. However, the only reason that I have this one is because I was going to go to a ugly Christmas sweater party this last year, and it got canceled at the last minute, and I already spent, $50 on this fucking thing. And it's the wrong size, too, because they didn't even have the right size. But, at least I went with the cool one. I went with the Rick and Morty jam. And not just some, Santa Claus or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer type of bullshit. Also, if this had been, another day further into the future, I probably wouldn't be doing this. Because, as some of you know, if you're living in LA and you're listening, watching to this, you know that we just hit a heat spike, and it is blazing hot. Almost. It's getting there. I've already turned on the AC in my place here. But let's see what else is going on. Also, this is a bit of a milestone. This is the first podcast recording that I'm doing with an edible, which I already took. I like doing the 10 milligram indicas to help me go to sleep. Waking up's a bit of a problem, but that's not the point. Also, I'm not fucking going anywhere anyway, so who cares? Hasn't exactly kicked in yet, but I am starting to get a little dry, so it's like Coke that tastes like water. I'm also a little bit hungry too, so, you know. Got a little bit of that chalky chalk. Now, whenever I get, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the chocolate bars that are just like just chocolate. Alright? I like mine with a little bit of something in it. This bar that I got, it's the last of it, but I got one that had cherry and orange, like shavings or something like that. Probably metal shavings in there too. Who knows where it's from? But yeah, I like something a little spicy, or not like spicy like a pepper spicy, but you know, just spice up my life on my taste buds. Anyway, I'm getting pretty close to having like a full setup here in my little closet, waiting on an ashtray so I can smoke on y'all too while I'm doing this, and need a fan in here too, which is also on the way. Thank you, Amazon. So like I said, it's getting fucking hot in here, and I'm already starting to get a little bit heated. Fortunately, not in a bad way. I don't really have a lot. This is going to be a little different. I don't have a lot else to talk about. I'm not really sucking in the intro either. I know one thing that I've been missing, and I'm sure a lot of people are missing, is just going to events in general. I actually haven't been to a lot of concerts recently, which, you know, you'd think, like, I live in Los Angeles, which is like concert central, and is kind of one of the main places for the heavy metal scene, which is, you know, I'm not really like a scene person myself, but it's nice for me because a lot of, well, just about every band, I've seen almost every single band that I've wanted to see. I think, yeah, there's nothing left on my list that I haven't seen yet. You know, barring ones that, you know, unfortunately don't exist anymore. I would have loved to have seen Pantera. And, well, actually, I haven't seen Metallica yet, but those are big shows, and I'm not that big on big shows if it's not like a festival or something like that, which I hope we get some festivals again here, too. There really aren't a lot. I think the only real big one that they really have anymore is Not Fast, and they didn't really have it this last year. I think they had like a they went back to doing like a tour fest. So normally the old Not Fest, which they later combined into Not Fest Ozfest, was a like a 2-day festival over at the San Bernardino amphitheater grounds, and this thing would literally start from 11 in the morning to the midnight, and the second day Slipknot would headline, and the first day would be like some other big band. But actually, the last one that I went to, well, not the last one, the last actual festival one that I went to, Slipknot did not actually headline because they wanted to, you know, keep it fresh or whatever. They actually had Rob Zombie headline the second day, and I say too much. That's another reason I'm doing this podcast, is to improve my god damn it, improve my personal syntax, because really I've never really been a huge talker. You know, especially whenever I was working in visual effects. I first started out at a large, god damn it, I first started at a larger company or a larger studio that had during our peak, whatever. During our peak seasons, we had upwards of like 400 employees. Anyways, the point being is I would we had some major crunches, which for those of you that don't know, whenever you're working in movies or TV and post-production, it's different because we're making a product, right? And you're not performing a continual service where you just put in your hours and then you go home and you're relieved by the next person, or the work's just picked up the next day or whatever. We have there's deadlines that you have to meet, and so usually there's a lot of overtime, especially towards the end of a project, and that's in the post-production world. That's what's called the crunch. And my second year working at my old studio, which I will leave nameless because whatever. I don't want people coming at me, but the second year I was there, we went through an 8-month crunch, which is unheard of for the most part, and it didn't happen again for reasons again I won't go over. But so basically for 8 months I worked 80-hour weeks, and now before y'all say like, oh, that's preposterous, well, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. But the point I was trying to get to is that I was one of those people who I didn't really need in that job. I didn't really need a lot of help. I was pretty good at it, and I ended up working on a lot of shots that sometimes would take me a week. I had one that took like 2 weeks for me to do. And the thing is now I will finally get to the point here. The point that I'm trying to make is I never really had to talk to anyone. So I didn't. I literally went, I think that I literally once went like a good 3 days without speaking to anybody there because I had my work and I was entrenched, so to speak. But anyways, I'm doing this now. I think just on this podcast, I've probably spoken more than I have to anyone anywhere this entire year. And it's also part of the reason that I had started doing stand-up too, just to get better at that, and also because I'm rapidly approaching the point in my life where like I just can't do other people's things. You know what I mean? I gotta work for myself. I gotta figure things out for myself, because it's very hard for me to respect like a boss, if you know what I mean. Which, not to say that there aren't ones that I don't. My current venue employment, I love that crew. I have good leaders, good bosses there, and good crewmates. And for the most part, at a lot of my old VFX work, I worked with people that I really enjoyed, but there were definitely others that I got lucky in that sense. But there's definitely others that were, well, there's a lot of horror stories about them. I remember we had one overall manager who was he was a friend of the owners of the studio, but was so toxic of a person that he was literally quarantined for like the last 5 years that he was there. Meaning that he could only speak to he could not speak to the artists or deal with us in any way. And probably not even some of the leads for the most part. Like, he was only allowed to talk to the show producers that we had, and clients. In fact, this is how toxic he was. We actually had another adjacent manager to him that was utilized in the case for clients who did not want to talk to this guy. That's how bad it was. That's insane. Like, what? How do you keep your... He should be lucky that he kept his job. And this was like the kind of job that you would get bonuses in the millions. But I don't know. From what I don't know, it's all over, and I'm out of that for now. But I wouldn't say no to working there again. But who knows? Again, no names, cause duh. But yeah, that's that world. Let's see. Going back to metal. I'm sure some of you can see. Can't really see very well. I'm rocking some of my old band merch that I haven't worn. Oh, you know what? I do remember something else I wanted to say before. I haven't really been to a lot of concerts lately. Even part of it has to do now that I've been working a lot. Voice crack. I've been working a lot at a bigger venue here in Hollywood, which again, no names, because it's not my place. But last year, 2019, working there, I saw. Technically, I've been to well over 100 shows, which is way more than the average person. But I only went to like 2 of my own. Because you just get kind of burned out on shows, and especially whenever you're working every single weekend. And it was also a pretty good excuse for me to buy some earplugs, which ties into the next story. So, as you can see, I'm wearing some band merch for one of my favorite bands, actually. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a group called Lacuna Coil. They are they started out as a quote-unquote goth band, and later on, transitioned into being like a metal goth band. Which now traditionally, what a gothic band is the main thing about them is that they're structured so that you have a male vocalist and a female vocalist, right? And so what they did, instead of basically just being like kind of a regular gothy type of band, they took that formula and just went into full blown, heavy metal, which I don't know, they're great. And the main singer, a nice lady by the name of Christina Scabia, who I actually had the chance to do a little meet and greet with them the first time that actually where I got the shirt, because it was the first time I saw them was for the release of this album, Black Crown Halo, and the price of it was like a special secret show over at the Roxy Theater down on Sunset, in the famous Sunset Strip. That Sunset Strip, the birth of hair metal. And the price of admission was basically you bought their album, and so I got that album a few days before its official release, and I got it signed, so that's pretty cool. It's like a mini heirloom, and I've been fans of them since. I've seen them like 3 times now with the last 3 albums that they've come out with. And now I said I have earplugs for work, and I bought the Eargasm earplugs. I'm sure you guys have seen ads for these things on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Shout out to Eargasm. But these are they're pretty advanced ones. They don't just block sound. Like they tune out above a certain decibel. It's completely tuned out, right? Which it works great for when I'm at work, even if I'm like even if for whatever reason I'm working the barricade and I'm, right there for like a rave or something like that, I won't, I won't have any problems. But the last time that I went to see these guys, Lacuna Coil, what that was after I had bought these earplugs and I had them in. And now the thing is Christina, who is the female lead of the band, has an amazing voice and a very, very loud one. So loud, in fact, that I had the earplugs in, and when I was listening to them, at first I thought that her voice had completely given out. Which happens, like to the point, given out to the point where you would think that they would, not go up or cancel the show or whatever. I thought like, oh man, that really sucks, about her voice. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. So I took out one of my earplugs and I realized that her voice was so high, or, well, so loud, decibel-wise, especially coming over the speakers, that my earplugs actually completely tuned her out, like just complete silence, which was a testament to both my earplugs and to them. And well, hopefully, once this lockdown's over, I think once this lockdown's over, I'm definitely gonna have to look into going to some more shows. And one of the nice things about being a metal fan like I am is we get a lot of shows during the week, and since for the most part, my shifts are at night when I have them, and during the weekends. So, but it does leave me time to, go. And even if I was working full time, I would still have time. And let's see, who else was I was also listening to another one of my favorite bands. Probably my favorite band actually is a little group known as Septic Flesh, who they are one of the major metal bands to come out of Greece. Let's see. There's three big ones. There's Septic Flesh, Rotting Christ, who I'm also a big fan of, and the third one escapes me. But in fact, all three of these bands are also they also kind of come from the same, like a similar gothic background. But Septic Flesh and Rotting Christ also transition into like heavy and extreme metal. The other one I don't remember, but I don't really listen to the other one. I'd have to look it up again, but whatever, who cares? But anyways, Septic Flesh is really cool because so they had a lot of kind of like early gothy metal-ish bands. They were a little more experimental to begin with. And then they went away for a while, and they came back in the early 2000s, I believe, and they've just been going strong ever since. Their last album came out like, I think it was like a couple years ago now. Yes. Yeah, it was a couple years ago, 2018. And what's cool about them is one of the things that they do for their recordings is they hire, I believe it's the Philharmonic Orchestra for recording on their bands, or for their albums. And one of the band members is also a classical composer. So he does the scores, or he writes up the orchestral scores for the tracks. And unfortunately, I would love to play a little bit for y'all, but I really can't because YouTube, and I'm trying to get this shit verified and monetized. And well, that's not gonna happen if I just use I just play a bunch of bullshit. So, again, sacrifices. And well, actually, I might as well talk about, Rotting Christ is also another metal band that to come out of Greece. They're I want to say they're a little bit older, but I think it's really more that they didn't take any breaks since they started. They started, I want to say the early 90s, but it might have been the late 80s. They used to be more like a traditional thrashy, like gothic thrash type of thing. And they got heavier with their newer, their later albums. But then they had one album come out shortly after, that was inspired by the movie 300, which, as you know, is the story of King Leonidas and how he and his supposedly 300 Spartan soldiers fought off the people that I can't fucking remember right now. The Persians, that's what it was. The Persians and their slave armies. I think in actual, it is based on, which was based on a real story, but I think it was more like 3,000. But I mean, the point being is that he had a very, very tiny force compared to a gargantuan army, and essentially won. So, and you can go watch the movie, go look it up, do your own work. But anyways, with that album, which was, I think it was like 4 albums ago, they sort of ditched like the thrash element to their music and kind of went with it. Well, it's still pretty thrashy and it's still heavy as fuck, but they started to incorporate more. I'm not really sure what the word is. I want to say they incorporated more of like a folk theme to. I don't know. Go listen for yourself. Lacuna Coil, Septic Flesh, Rotting Christ. Those are my suggestions for you. And, you're in lockdown. What the fuck else are you going to do? Go listen to some new music. There you go. See you later. Anyways, the purpose of this recording is we're going to get into some Facebook articles again. I kind of didn't do this the last couple weeks, but, here we go. Also, I don't know about you guys, but, A, with the quarantine, and B, having these weeks really just go by so fast. I mean, it feels like only, like, a day and a half ago or something like that I just finished putting up the last episode, but here we are. Anyways, let's see what Facebook has to offer. First up, for some of you more eclectic video game nerds and classic lovers, they're making Streets of Rage 4. Actually, it's already made. It's coming out April 30th, so that's kind of cool. For those of you who don't know, it's like a video game where you play, the original one is like some old school Nintendo shit, where basically you play like some, funky hip 80s police officer, and you're just, fighting gangs, and it's one of those side-scroller games where you can like move up and down the screen, and you fight gang members. But like classic style gang members, so it has like the whole, and like the explosion bubbles and whatever other speeches, I don't know, but anyways, it actually looks kind of cool. I'm looking at some of the graphics for it, and again, I'm gonna put the link up for these in the comments. or the episode description if you're on YouTube or iTunes or one of the other services that I'm on, which I'm not exactly sure how they handle. It should be the same because I use another web hosting site that just funnels out my episodes to all those different services. Moving on. Next post I want to look at. So this one isn't actually that funny at all, but so articles, Trump demands postal service increases prices fourfold for customers. Now, this is Trump we're talking about. He says a lot of shit and demands a lot of shit. I would be willing to put money on, I'd be willing to bet money that he can't actually do that, first of all. And, well, second of all, their problems are, half of this administration's fault. Because, well, the thing about the USPS is they're not, I think they work like a government contractor, right? But they're also a union. So, they kind of have to have guaranteed unemployment, but I know the Trump admin has been, chipping away quite a bit at their benefits, actually. And, of course, now with the lockdown and the virus and all that shit, people aren't really using the post office that much, so they've been kind of hurting. And it just doesn't solve the problem. Like, at all. Now, also, for me, their so-called solution doesn't really affect me much because, the only thing that I really I guess anytime I order something online, unless it's through Amazon, yeah, I pay for postage. And also for stamps, but what's 4 times a 25-cent stamp, just $1. But that's still bullshit. It's all bullshit. Since, when did his ass get elected? 2016? Yeah. God damn, it doesn't really feel like it's been 4 years already. It is nuts. Time flies. Like I mentioned. This one's also more serious, but I feel like there's kind of a funny angle here. This article headlines: Homeless people ticketed for being outside and violating social distancing orders. Of course they're outside. Where are they going to be? Inside someone else's property? And how do you... This isn't a new point by any standard, but how do you even give a homeless person a ticket? Like, chances are they don't have any identification on them, so you can't really tell who they are. Or, well, I guess unless you force them to give their fingerprints, but I'm not sure what the law is on that either. I don't think you can do that. Then again, I'm not a cop either. And by you, I obviously mean, I can for sure mean people who aren't cops, because obviously. Oh yeah, but I did comment on that. And the thing is, one of the biggest problems too with homelessness is a lot of them suffer from some form of mental illness, and especially with the population here in. No, I don't think it's just California. The whole U.S. For those of you who don't know, and you should by now, but if you don't know, one of the biggest factors in the current homeless crisis and the size of their population is sometime during the Reagan era, I believe it was, his administration they introduced a lot of new regulations as far as dealing with, homeless people. For one, I know they tightened up a lot of like what could be considered a legally recognized healthcare facility, which means that a lot closed down. Sometimes probably for good reasons. I mean, everybody's heard, all the Halloween stories about places who, basically just mistreat their patients instead of treating them. But, even so, they would literally just take all these people who are mentally handicapped in some way or another. Most of the times, at that time, they didn't even know by what. I'm sure back then people were still getting admitted for hysteria or what have you. But yeah, they would just push these people out the door. Like whenever you get released from prison, they just take you to the outside gate and, close it back up and you're on your own. That's pretty much the same thing. They didn't have anywhere to go. I don't think even like a lot of the families probably had no idea. Or they probably only called them up like, hey, we released your dad or whatever. Like, what? Where? I don't know. He's out. He's your problem now. Actually, he's California's problem now. Actually, on that note, I was kind of surprised whenever I don't know if I talked about this already, but I actually went to New York City for the first time over Christmas, and I didn't really see a lot of homelessness there. I think it might be partially due to the fact that I mostly spent my time in Manhattan. Whatever the part is that's south of Central Park. I don't really know all the terminology that well, and well, who cares? I'm on the other side of the country anyway. Well, not who cares? That's sensitive, obviously. All right, there we go. That's a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, if you're so screwed up in the brain that, all right, let me rephrase that just so I'm not, in trouble, so I don't cancel myself. Something stupid, but if you're mentally handicapped to the point where you're homeless, like you literally can't keep it together, and you got none of your IDs on you, and you get approached by a cop, like how is that gonna go? Like the cops pulls up like, sir or ma'am, what's your name? How should I know? You don't fucking know. Hell, they probably think you're an alien at that point or something. Let's see. I should do one more. Let's look for one more. Ooh. I did not. This is one I wanted to talk about before. I haven't seen it. So this is now this article. I had a Tumblr thread. I do scat now. And this shit's starting to kick in. But I had a Tumblr article come across my feed a little while back about the what's known as the real world medusa. Yeah. Now, for what that is a little complicated. So I'm sure everybody knows what Chernobyl is, right? That's the Russian nuclear power plant, one of the biggest ones, where one of the there goes my voice. Still a child. child, not yet a man, apparently, again. But yeah, so one of the reactors in this place melted down and blew up. Actually, no, it didn't blow up, it just melted down and irradiated everything around there, right? Also, another little bit of interesting news that I heard about is that there's parts of... there's some reactors in Chernobyl that are apparently back in use now. Because... this happened, during the 80s? I believe it was. And, actually, a lot of places are actually, safe to go to now. From, what I understand, I know, like, the main reactor building is still, irritated enough that, like, if you went in there, you could go in unprotected, but, like... yeah, if you didn't get treated right away, you'd still die. But now this thing is a little bit worse than that. So, one of the interesting things that happened is the, I guess the way that the nuclear, those type of nuclear reactors worked is that they had, these are the ones that you saw that had like the big rods with, both hands. You can see like the big rods that were, made with uranium and whatever other types of metal, and they were sitting in... I'll get it out here. And that they sit in, I guess, like irradiated water, and the whole thing with the reactors, it uses some... I don't know. It's either fusion or fission, but... It destabilizes the radioactive molecules or whatever, and they go off, they work. So, whenever the reactor melted down, one or more of the rods basically melted, superheated and melted into this clump of metal. And this thing burned through the floor of the reactor, and then like another 3 or 4 levels into the reactor building basements, and ended up just sitting there. And the reason that it is called the medusa, the real life medusa, it's not an entirely apt title because, well, I'll tell you why. So basically, with this thing, at the time that they discovered it, and shortly after the meltdown, this piece of metal was so radioactive that anybody who entered the room that was in was basically died like moments later. It was that bad, even fully protected. And they do have a photo, which I'll pull up like a wiki photo or something like that. But and the only way that they were able to capture it was They had like a robot, I think it was, put a mirror to the door, and then they snapped a photo of it. Because I think they tried doing something similar with, they sent in like one of those little rovers with a camera, and the fucking equipment broke down. And, let's see, according to the article, they do add some things that, now it's a little bit safer. Right, like they could, whatchamacallit? I just remembered something else in there. But, now, if you're fully protected, you can actually go in and, observe this chunk of metal, but you still have to go but you still can't stay in there. Like, you can't just, like, hang out for the day or whatever. You gotta be, like, in and out, and then get treated, but you'll live. So, that is a plus. And then, there were some other interesting facts, is apparently now there's a new species of black mold. I think it was, actually, no, I don't know if it was black mold, it was mold, that's actually breaking down and eating the metal. Which is cool. I mean, that's something cool that nature's doing. But also at the same time, like, if this thing can eat through deadly radioactive steel, what else is what's it gonna start eating next? Hopefully not concrete. Then the whole thing caves in and now there's just mold. And that's our apocalypse, apparently. Just a giant mold. Oh, that was the other thing I was laughing about earlier. There's another fact in here. Apparently, one of the ways that they thought about whenever the Russians, first came in to try and clean up after the meltdown, and they had this Medusa thing, this chunk of metal. One of the first things he tried was shooting at it with an AK or whatever the fuck they used. Actually, yeah, it would have been an AK. They came from Russia, but and the notes were seemed to cause slight structural damage to the radioactive object. Also, as I mentioned before, the guy fucking died soon after that because he was literally cooked from the inside out. That's what radioactive sickness does to you. Or at least a really severe radioactive sickness. The fuck? Oh. Yeah, it's starting to kick in. So I'm getting to the point where I'm accidentally clicking stuff that I don't want to click on my phone, which is my cue to get out of here. And good night.